Would you like to join in or observe? Yes, excellent. So what I've done, this is banana palm fibre basically. I let it dry out completely and then I soaked it again overnight in some water to make it soft. So you just need to get two pieces, tie them together at the top. Then it is simply a matter of holding them in your left hand, and the one that's closest to you, you twist it twice towards yourself and then you place it over the back and then you repeat. So twice to yourself and then over the back. Yep. Okay, I'm going to talk about art and also garden elements and connecting children with nature, which I think is really important these days. Okay, I work at Black Forest Primary School. It's near the Adelaide CBD. It's quite a big school, 520 students, and the garden is 30 years old. The fences have gradually moved out over the years and the garden's changed depending on the teachers and the staff and the parents who have been there at the school at the time. We've got a mixture of different beds. It's a mixture of display beds as well as working beds. We've got succulents and cacti, and we do a lot of propagating in pots. We've got a sand dune bed. We've got a butterfly garden. We've got a bed that's just fowls for picking for the kids. We've got a hothouse, small orchard, and an outdoor classroom. And areas also specifically set up for nature play. That's the purpose of the area, it's just for play. Okay, so we don't do much cooking. The focus is partly on food, which is great, but it's also on lots of other things. It's about biodiversity, but it's about all sorts of things. And that's why we haven't, and we probably won't go down the Stephanie Alexander path, because our garden program is much broader than that, and I don't want to go down the narrow focus. Okay. In the garden I use lots of signage. I think that's really important in a children's garden, ranging from just painted signs on wood to the laminated ones that you can put in these, sorry. Okay, yeah, these are an example of the signs I was talking about before. You get the little display stakes from a company called Nord Industries, which is in Melbourne. I just ordered them through the mail. They're fantastic, they last for years. You just laminate pieces of paper and slot them in, so you can reuse them again and again. Highly recommend them. And you can fit quite a lot of writing on the signs, so you can explain things like, how many loaves of bread will that little plot of wheat make? Okay, we also have a mud pit, which is a really important area of the garden. I find it's a great area to contain children in one area, so you can put a quarter of the class in there while you pull out a kid one at a time and work one-on-one with them. So they're having a fun time in the mud, and it just sort of controls them from running amok in the garden. The way I run garden lessons is that a whole class comes to the garden, but I personally can't deal with 30 kids in a garden by myself. It's just complete havoc. So what I do is I divide a class into 3 different groups. The classroom teacher has to come, and also at least one parent volunteer. So we have 3 groups, each with an adult leader, and we rotate through 3 different activities, and then we have playtime at the end. So the activities would be hands-on gardening with me, an activity with the teacher, which, for example, if the theme of the day was potatoes, it might be the life cycle of a potato, and then there'll be an art activity with the parent helpers, and with this one, for example, potato prints. But there's all sorts of activities that we can do, and I find it really easy to find things that link up together into themes quite well. For the art activities, as I get the parent helpers to take them usually, they have to be easy to do, achievable, fun, creative, and also cheap. It's wonderful doing things like mosaics in a garden, but again, it takes a lot of time. The glue's expensive, things like that. They're lovely to do, but it's also good to have cheap and easy projects as well. And I'm just going to run through a few that I've done with my students. Lots of mosaics. We've got a really good one happening out there using seeds. It can be Christmas decorations. That's just gluing seeds on cardboard, which works cheaply and easily. Other sorts of collages, just using leaves. You can use templates to trace around to draw out the figures. That works really well. Kids love making crowns like this. Just a piece of cardboard, and you staple the leaves and flowers on them. They can also draw a bit. With the wristband, it's just a piece of cardboard wrapped around with double-sided sticky tape stuck to it. So they just pick the flowers and stick them on their wrist, and there you have an instant bracelet, which looks pretty cute. Obviously, you know, the 5 and 6-year-olds like doing that. The older kids probably would be highly embarrassed, so we wouldn't do that. So I just, you know, I tailor the activities to the age of the children. Weavings as well. It can be as simple as weaving some leaves through a piece of cardboard like that, or to something a bit more tricky like that, using either dried or fresh leaves. That works well. And different sorts of mandalas, like we've got a wonderful one happening out there. You can just use leaves and flowers. You can either just do it straight on the ground, or we've done it on a plate of damp sand. That sort of keeps everything down quite well. You can float them in a bowl of water. If anyone's been to Bali, you've probably seen lots of these beautiful ones outside restaurants and places like that. They're just floating in water, looking lovely. You can do it into mud, which the bottom two are. The kids love doing that. That's just a big pile of mud on top of a log, and they've put all their flowers and things on it. The brown things are actually live caterpillars they've put inside the flowers as part of their mandala, which was rather cute at the time. Yeah. And lots of other things you can do with mud as well. Make sculptures for a pretty good time. Our garden is completely fenced, which works really well for us. We do a lot of planting in pots. If we didn't have a fence, those pots would walk. So I'm quite happy that we've got a fence. But you know, fences can be pretty ugly. So one way of decorating them is using fabric, or you can use leaves, vines, anything like that, to cover up the fences. Scarecrows in all shapes and forms. Rusty tin cans look pretty nice. Kids love this activity. Using a hot glue gun and whatever seed pods you've got around, they can make all sorts of creatures. It's one of their favourite activities. You could have a theme of native animals, or it could be aliens or something like that. But the kids from whichever age, from the 5-year-olds to the 12-year-olds really enjoy that activity as well. And again, it doesn't cost much money. If you've got the glue guns, they cost about $10 each, and the glue sticks aren't terribly expensive, and the seed pods are for free again. Hot glue guns. Yeah. Yep. Yep, like there's one on the table there, those black ones. You can get them from Spotlight hardware stores, those sorts of things. Some more examples. Yeah, they look quite cute. The Christmas ones are very successful. The wings on the little angel are just a piece of pasta, you know, the bow tie pasta. Again, that doesn't cost much. And little googly eyes and just a piece of cotton wool for the beard for the Santa. So quite fun, quite easy, and you can achieve it in like a 20-minute, time frame. Veggie people. Quite fun and easy. And wreaths of different kinds. The ivy one here, I've just used a wire coat hanger upside down in the pot, sort of attached to the bottom. You just fill it with soil, and then you can grow ivy up as a living wreath, which looks quite nice. You can put a ribbon around it and then sell it at the school fete, or take it home for Christmas or whatever like that. And just using what we've got in the garden. We've got a lot of grapevines at our school, so we use the prunings to make wreaths and other things. Again, that's using a hot glue gun. Simple but effective. Bark paintings. And totem pots. We got given a whole lot of terracotta pots, which was lovely. So basically we've just painted them and stuck them over a metal post, and they're wonderful totem poles. And then at the end of the year we'll take it apart and pot up all the pots, and the kids can take them home, and we'll do a new lot next year. I always grow wheat in the garden just to show them, how is bread made. So we always we grow the wheat and we harvest it and we grind it up and make this tiny little amount of flour, and they're always horrified at how long it takes and how much wheat it would take to make a loaf of bread. But we also use it for art as well, and that's just plaiting the wheat to make a little Christmas decoration. Yeah, pressing leaves and flowers, that's another cheap and easy activity to do, and making bookmarks like this. I'll pass some round that I've made. Basically, it's just using pressed flowers and leaves on a piece of cardboard, and you just run it through a laminator. Yeah. And again, they could even be linked to a theme. So if the theme of the day was Indigenous plants, they would all be, you know, your native plants. You'd write the names next to them, and you could even write something on the back. And again, that's something the children can use and remember. You know, these are our local Indigenous plants. We do that with our Black Forest plants. Tin can people, that's another fun activity. And bottle tops. Someone gave us a huge bucket of beer can tops, so I had to think of activities to use with them. You can hang them up high and put a little candle inside them, and they shine at night. They look really cute as well. The technique for them when you're banging the holes is you need to put a log inside the can, otherwise it all bends and buckles when you're hammering it. Either that or fill it up with water and put it in the freezer and have it frozen. That works also, I've found. Yeah, I've made sort of a little octopus or spider, you can see there. I haven't really got a very good picture of it. But we did a display garden at the Royal Show one year, which is what that was. Lots more activities. I'm sure everyone's done leaf prints and collages and things like that. These are just a few variations, which I'll pass around as well. Just lots of different colour paint for one big leaf. Or instead of painting on the leaf and then just pressing it on, put the leaf actually on the cardboard and then paint over it, so you get sort of the silhouette, which is quite pretty. That's another technique. Or during peak wattle season, we do lots of wattle paintings. That's just using a cotton bud or a stick with the yellow dots. And the stems I do with a piece of cardboard just on its side, dipped into the paint. It looks quite cool. Looks really nice if it's done on a black piece of cardboard or red or something like that. It looks particularly nice. So you can have a look at that one. Yeah, using natural dyes. I haven't done a lot of that, but there are a few people around that are quite, you know, specialists using dyes to make for different things. That's another activity. And leaf hammerings, which I'm going to demonstrate to you here. These are a bit of our specialty. This is basically just done by using a leaf and a piece of paper and a piece of fabric. It can be cotton or something like this, something fairly thin, and you just put the leaf underneath it like that and belt it with a mallet. That's all you do. Yeah. So you do it on the ground, which works best. And after a while you can see that the sap comes through and it makes a beautiful shape. You have to be persistent, try different types of leaves. I guess the amount of water in the leaf depends on how successful it is. Got a few other examples here.
What plants do you find more successful than others?
Yep, these ones, that's wormwood, that one's a fern. Plants with serrated edges look the best, I've found. Obviously you wouldn't use a really succulent plant, it's a big mess. But again, that's a learning experience for the kids, you know, which one will work, which one won't. Yep. So you can have a look at that. Yeah, and you can all have a go at the end of doing one of these if you like, because I've got some hammers and some fabric. Yeah. Autumn leaves look particularly good. This one's faded a bit, but using the red glory vine leaves or anything like that in autumn, they look spectacular.
Can you fix it, or is it basically non-washable?
Yeah. To be honest, I haven't tried, but they last for about 2 years, looking quite good, and that's long enough for me.
If you lined it on a piece of plastic or something on top, and because it's so hard to get grass stands out.
Yeah.
So it's not going to
Yep.
be done anywhere, is it really?
Yeah, so that's another fun activity, and it's great for boys that love, you know, hammering. You can take out some of your aggression or whatever. It's a very noisy activity, but I think it's quite fun. Yep. Okay. I'm going to talk about natural playscapes. Personally, I'm not a fan of the playgrounds, which are basically rubber softball and metal equipment and plastic. Like, we've got a pretty good example of the one just out here. That doesn't do anything for me whatsoever. Personally, I'd rather give kids a few planks and bricks and some mud and some water and say go for it. That's a lot more creative than something which is fixed and already finished. That pirate ship out there, it's a pirate ship, and I don't think kids would be able to think of it as anything different. So they'd probably have, they'll play for quite a while on it, but if that's all they've got every day, just a pirate ship, they'll soon tire of it. So with natural playscapes, that includes plants, the soil, sand, rocks, logs, sticks, wood chips, and places to hide. Paths to follow, dry creek beds, all that type of thing. Water, of course. This is in the mud pit at school. Yeah, they get quite creative. There's a lot of good engineering that sort of happens in the mud pit. And a lot of kids today, they spend so much time in front of a screen that I reckon they've sort of lost the ability to do unstructured play themselves. They've lost that creativity, which is really sad, because they're either in front of a screen or they're doing an organised activity. They're at a sport or they're at a ballet lesson or something like that. They just don't have the time and they don't have the opportunity to interact with nature just in a casual way, like a lot of us might have done in our youth. So I think it's, it's really important that school gardens address that. It's not just about growing food, and it's not just about learning about your native plants, it's also learning about nature and really connecting with it by play. And I think that's particularly important for primary school kids. Loose parts are really important for kids in a natural playscape as well. With the pirate ship over there, there's nothing, they can't really interact with it, they can't move it, it just sits there. But if they've got sticks and logs and water, pots and pans like this, hessian, bricks, pipes, all that sort of thing, they have a wonderful time. They can be really creative, use their imaginations. And I think that's really healthy for children. And they learn. I mean, you can see the kids here building the brick wall. It started falling down after a while, so I sort of gave them a few suggestions about offsetting the bricks, and it clicked after a while, and they made one that didn't fall down. They were using mud as the mortar. Other useful props. Paper bags. I go through hundreds and hundreds of paper bags because the kids love collecting things, whether it be leaves or flowers or sometimes bugs, but I try and get them to return them to the garden. Magnifying glasses are very useful as well. Containers with lids for catching bugs, so lots of plastic containers with lids. Just a simple card table I've got here for snail and caterpillar racing. You just draw a circle on it, small one in the middle, you put all the bugs and things in the middle, and then it's a race to the outside. They love doing that. Easy activity, good fun. With snails, you can actually paint the top of the snails so you can tell which one's which, different colours, have a bit of a race. I've got lots of plastic animals and plastic insects just scattered around the garden as well. You move them around and they love exploring and things like that.
What do you use the animals for?
It's just for play again, more creative play. Yep. You can do a lot more with a plastic animal than you can with, an animal on a screen like that. You can actually touch it and move it and hide it in a bush or something like that. Chickens are fantastic for kids. I take my chooks to work with me every day to the school. I live right nearby, I just carry them under my arms. And they spend the school day underneath the fruit trees in the orchard there, and the kids come in and interact with them as well. Some kids have never, been near a chicken or touched one. They're absolutely terrified, but by the time I've finished with them at this school, they're all, they know what chickens are like and they love them. Again, that's more interacting with nature. My favourite plants for kids, nasturtium is my #1 plant. You can eat it, it looks beautiful, you can suck the end, you can put a drop of water on it and it looks like mercury. It's fascinating. We call them magic leaves. Kids love them. And they're easy to grow, of course, they just come up by themselves year after year. Cape gooseberry is another one. Easy to grow. I live in Adelaide, so it's more of a temperate plant, I think. They just love opening up the little capsule and finding the little gooseberry inside it. The swan plant, of course, for the monarch butterflies. It is a bit of a weed, so you've got to make sure the seeds don't blow away and go everywhere, but it's just fantastic watching the monarch caterpillars eat the leaves and do their beautiful cocoon and then come out again.
Do you buy the caterpillars or you find the caterpillars with the plant?
They come to us. If you plant the plants, the caterpillars will come. Yep. Potatoes. Yep. Potatoes are essential in any kid's garden. We just have a small bed dedicated to potatoes, but I'm also the potato fairy, so when the first class is harvested, those potatoes, I go to the greengrocer and I buy a bag of brushed potatoes and I bury them because, you know, there's only so many potatoes you can get out of one bed. And I want all the kids to experience it, and I like success in the garden. You want kids to be satisfied, so if it means cheating slightly like that, just do it, I say. And it works, they don't know any different. The teachers don't even realise, the parent helpers don't realise, I just keep my mouth shut. Oh yes, there's another potato. Yeah. Yep, Jerusalem artichokes, they're fantastic plants related to the sunflower, beautiful tall flowers, and the lovely knobbly tuber that comes out of the ground. Again, another really easy plant to grow. Peppermint geranium, every garden's got to have one of that. The smell and the feel was just wonderful. Honesty, beautiful seed pods again, pretty flowers, self-seeds everywhere, easy to grow. Sunflowers and wheat, I think I've already gone over that. And just some other plants which I recommend for various reasons, because of their, you know, their taste or their smell or their shape, all sorts of things. Bidgie-widgie, that's a little local native to Adelaide. I'm not sure if it grows elsewhere. It's related to the rose, a beautiful little ground clover. And I like it because it has a lovely seed pod, which is round and it's got little prickles on it, just like Velcro. So you can grab the little seed pods and throw them and they will stick to your clothes. That's a fantastic lesson in seed dispersal. Okay, so you can talk about how they would be dispersed by kangaroos. Yep, those little seed pods would stick to the animal would move on, drop them, and then you get another plant. So that's your seed dispersal lesson there. Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
Kate.
Thank you. Most of the food gets picked and eaten either on the spot, or I send it home with the kids, or it goes to the canteen. Okay, the school funds me for only 2 mornings a week really. As a teacher's aide, we don't have the funding for a cooking teacher, we don't have the funding for extra ingredients, we don't have the facilities, and I can't see that changing in the near future. So unfortunately we don't, but we can do a whole lot anyway. And the kids do come back, say, oh yes, we cooked that pumpkin, we had pumpkin soup last night, and that was great. So I can be satisfied with that. Yeah, we've got lots of fruit trees. And again, we just pick and eat on the spot, I haven't done that, but we could, yeah. So most lessons, there's something in the garden that we can eat. At the moment it's broad beans. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
So you're a teacher's aide just at Black Forest?
Correct, yep, yep. I've had another job to help pay the bills, which I'm not doing right now, but yeah. Basically in South Australia there's no funding for this sort of thing, unless you go down the Stephanie Alexander path, and I'm not doing that. Yeah.
So did you, I missed the beginning.
Sure.
Explain how it works in the school, how often you with the kids, and so it's one class at a time.
Yep, one class at a time. It's always in the mornings. I always need a parent helper, so it's helpful if you do it first thing in the morning, because often there's parents that stay for reading help with little kids, so that works well. So after reading, the whole class comes down to the garden. We divide into the 3 groups and we do the 3 activities and we rotate through them, then we have playtime at the end. That works well for us. Yep. And the garden's also open for play 3 times a week. So that's quite useful for follow-up, because it is really hard to get the teachers and the kids to the garden because of the busy timetable. Yeah.
You use gardens yourself, Kate? Did the teachers help you out with watering, or is it all up to you?
We've got a fantastic automatic irrigation system, drippers and everything. The kids do lots of watering when they're there, of course. I've got 20 watering cans. It's one of the main activities I love doing.
School holidays?
Yeah, school holidays, it's the automatic watering system and me. Yeah. Luckily, they've paid me for the past few Christmas holidays to keep an eye on things, which is great. Yeah. I live right next door, which is very convenient.
Have you got children there?
Yes. Yes.
Always
So it
a
works well.
connection. It always seems to
Yeah.
be a connection.
That's right. Yep. And if I walked out the door tomorrow, probably, unless they found someone else as enthusiastic, it would kind of fall in a heap. Because really, there aren't, I mean, the teachers, they all love it. They think the program's fantastic, as do the parents. But none of them really have much time to be fully involved. The teachers love it that they can come to the garden. They know I've got it all organised. They have to walk in. I give them their lesson plan, and all they do is present it. So I make it really easy for them. Yeah, I've just got a whole lot of lesson plans. Yeah.
Sorry, one more question. What grade level is?
Reception, like 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds, basically.
Grade 6.
Yep, yep.
What are you doing with the older kids? Same exact program?
No,
How do you vary it for
yeah, the skill level just increases, you know, we do slightly different things. Yep, we do more about, you know, seed dispersal or more complicated life cycles, all that sort of thing. It's not hard. And it's really easy to link everything to the curriculum. I really don't stress much about that these days because it seems that whatever we do, you can just go back to the curriculum and it's in there. You know, you can link it to science, you can link it to English, maths, whatever. It really isn't a problem. Yeah, so it's quite easy to justify. We just need the government to agree that it's worth it.
Have you,
Yeah.
do you mainly do companion planting? Like what do you do in terms of pest control and that kind of thing in the garden?
Yep, it's very much a permaculture messy style of garden at the moment with me. It used to be long straight rows of vegetables, you know, 30 years ago, because they were a bit sort of pedantic and anal about that sort of thing. But kids don't really plant in straight lines, or none of the kids I know do. So it's messy garden, a bit of this, a bit of that, a lot like, you know, the pictures of Leone schools and the pictures of the Wollongong schools, you know, it looks kind of similar to that. Messy gardens, so pests aren't a huge problem. Yep, we squirt things off with water.
You've got 40 kids to pick off the caterpillars as well.
Yep, and we like having caterpillars in our garden, they're good fun to play with, you know. Yeah.
Just take them from the veggies.
They turn into butterflies, yeah. So we don't get upset by that, you know. A few holes in some fruit is not a problem. If the insects like the fruit, you know, the fruit are probably good for us. We've heard that again today. So, yeah, yeah. Yep, we do too. Yep, yep. So that's good.
Is there somewhere where you get your ideas from? Is there any particular websites that you recommend?
Not particularly. From also, the California Garden Network has got some good stuff on their websites. A lot of the art ideas I've just sort of generated myself, just through trial and error, as to which ones work, which ones don't. Yeah, I've grabbed bits and pieces from all over the place and just sort of developed my own ideas over the time. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. But, yeah.
Who does your signs?
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Why do you get them in Adelaide?
The company, the plastic part, it's called Norwood Industries. Just Google that, they're in Melbourne. Norwood, Norwood, Norwood Industries. They work out to about $2 a plastic label, but they last for years and years because you just replace the inserts. Yep, I think they're really useful. And they come in different sizes. You can get little ones and you can also get bigger ones. Yep.
Are they metal?
They're plastic.
And they just go into the ground?
They call them display stakes. So don't look up plant labels because they're display stakes. Yep. Yep. They work really well. Yeah. We get lots of visitors through the garden, people from other schools and that sort of thing. That's why I think signage is really important. If I'm not there to explain things or the kids aren't there to explain things, you know, it's there in writing, they can see it. Yeah. The kids do read the signs and, yeah, it does sink in. Yeah.